Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is all your latest Rangers news after Phillipe Clement spoke to the media ahead of Sunday's game. Comments around the captain, comments around Oscar Cortez, comments around Nedim Bajrami. We've got them all for you today. Some comments about James Tavernier that will have some fans very angry, and other fans saying, well done, Phillipe Clement, for backing your captain. We'll present both sides of the case, let you make up your own mind. Let's face it, when it comes to James Tavernier, I don't think I have an opinion anymore. I'm fed up of the abuse that I get, whenever I offer opinion on James Tavernier, particularly from the Tav fanboys out there. It even got to the point yesterday with some of the comments that were made on videos and comments were made in other live chats towards me. Well, I'll be honest with you, I actually considered deleting this channel and giving up YouTube altogether. That's how fed up I actually was of it all yesterday. To certain individuals, I'm not going to name names, who genuinely, I'm just fed up with the abuse. I'm fed up of the shit they come out with on a daily basis. Right, anyway, let's talk some things about James Tavernier and the manager, and obviously we'll bring you some of the latest fitness news and the opportunity for Bajrami to possibly start against Dundee United on Sunday. Right, James Tavernier, a man who divides fan opinion. We've got those who love him to bits and still think he is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we've got the others that, see him as being a fading talent, someone whose legs have gone, someone who can't defend to save his life, and someone who, against Celtic has let the club down on several occasions, been to blame for 19 goals in the Old Firm, statistically. So there's two sides to the argument, and obviously, like I said, I'll let you make your own minds up about that. Now, all of this kind of came to a head, didn't it, after the most recent Old Firm game where fans verbally abused James Tavernier, including that one that went very viral on social media, telling Tav to F off and telling him he was a serial loser. Some fans condemned this. Other fans, said they'd buy this guy a pint. I mean, there was obviously two sides, again, to the argument, two sides to the whole debate. Anyway, speaking to the media today, manager Phillipe Clement has defended his captain, which really shows that James Tavernier is still very much part of Phillipe Clement's plans, and I think will be an absolute regular starter, to the delight of his of the Tav fanboys and to the annoyance of the for fuck's sake Tav crowd. I think it is clear that, James Tavernier will be a regular feature in this Rangers team, whatever you think of James Tavernier. Anyway, this is what Phillipe Clement had to say. He said, if you're a captain, you are the symbol of the team. I was at Bruges for 10 years and captain like Tav. I had these moments and he is part of being a captain. He is very motivated. We can understand the disappointment after an Old Firm defeat. Interesting comment indeed. He went on to say this. He went on to say that, in his opinion, that James Tavernier was a real captain. That was his comment, that he's a real captain and a leader of men. I mean, interesting comment, given the fact that I think a lot of fans see how Tavernier is on the field and how they don't rate him as a leader at all. Interesting as well that he kind of puts this down solely to the Old Firm game. I think those people, obviously, who have spoken out against James Tavernier in recent times are not doing it just based on that Old Firm game. They're based on, I think, all Tav's disappointing performances between March and now, where there's been a real drop off in his form and a drop off in what he's done. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who say that he's still, a valuable part of the team. He's the captain. He contributes assists. He contributes passing. He contributes goals. Obviously, hasn't contributed that this season. People say, on the other hand, that, at the end of the day, his defensive skills are poor. His tackling is poor. He gets caught out, and virtually every team we play these days targets James Tavernier. They see him as the weak link in this team, and that's the access to obviously getting in behind our defenses, attacking the right-hand side, because they know that Tav obviously can't keep up and can't defend. I mean, in particular, obviously, Dyson Maida of Celtic has had some real joy against James Tavernier in all the recent Old Firm games. So look, there's obviously, that argument. Like I said, there's two sides to every argument. Other people say that it's not fair to blame solely Tav. All the players have been poor in the Old Firm, which look is true. I think again in last few Old Firm games, it isn't just been James Tavernier who's been poor. I think the vast majority of the Rangers team have been poor. I mean, you probably only put Connor Barron down for pass marks in the last Old Firm, and before that, I think you'd struggle to find many players who got pass marks in the one at Ibrox. Abdallah Seema, maybe. That was pretty much it, if I'm being honest with you. So, look, I think, there is, again, like I said, the two sides to the argument when it comes to James Tavernier. I think there is a growing, belief within the fan base, however, and this is, like I said, this is just looking at comments. And I know social media is a toxic place, but, listening to other podcasts, listening to reading live chats, listening to comments made by other podders, listening to comments made by people who, phone into other podcasts, listening to and reading comments on social media. I think there is a growing belief within the fan base that James Tavernier has come to the end of his usefulness for Rangers, and the fact that they believe that his legs have gone and he's slowed down and he can't defend anymore. I mean, even on Rangers Review this morning, an in the know, organisation who are close to the club, who have press access to the club, and obviously, all the caveats and warnings that carries with it. You even got Derek Clark and I think to some extent Stevie Clifford as well, both saying that, as far as they're concerned, that Phillipe Clement should be looking at other options at right back, like Dujon Sterling, like Casanwejo, for example, based purely on form. And I think, look, at the end of the day, no matter who the player is, whether it's James Tavernier, whether it's Cyril Dessers, whether it's Mohamed Diamande, Connor Barron, Jack Butland, you have to pick players based on their current form, not on their past achievements. That's not, for me, controversial. That's not Tav hate. That's not, player hate. That is based on genuine footballing sense. You look at, when you pick a team, you pick your 11 players to start and your 18 or 19 or whatever it is these days for substitutes in terms of the actual match day squad based on form. You don't pick a player who's out of form. You don't pick a player who's struggling. You pick a player who's in form, a player who's performing well, if you want to get the best out of him, and then obviously him contribute in a positive way to your team. And I think, even those, who are ultra loyalists, ultra Tav fanboys can perhaps admit that his form at this point in time is not great. This, is partly down to the fact, obviously, advancing years. He can't play every game anymore. And Clement himself said, look, he can't start every game, he can't play every minute. Yet this season he has played every game and played every minute. And I think, if I'm speaking honestly and openly, I think he will continue to do that. I think you'll still find James Tavernier playing, upwards of 40, 50 games this season, given obviously that the manager has for him. I mean, in terms of the rumours around his transfer, there was all those stories, wasn't there, about him, supposedly moving to Turkey. This is what Clement had to say over the Tavernier transfer speculation. He said, there were no offers. I have read so many times there has been an offer. So as far as Clement's concerned, there were no offers for James Tavernier. No one came in for him. No one wanted to buy him. No one was interested in buying him. I mean, perhaps that carries a little bit of a message there for the manager and the club. If a player who has supposedly such amazing numbers is not attracting any actual offers or interest from anywhere, then does that kind of raise a question about his current form and his current abilities? Interesting comments. So let me know what you think down in the comments below, guys. Let me know what you think of what Phillipe Clement has said. Obviously, let me think what you want done with James Tavernier when it comes to Rangers. Now, one of the big hot topics whenever Phillipe Clement obviously speaks to the media is always around the fitness of the players. Who is available, who is not available, who's fit to go. Will new signings start? And I think, one of the criticisms that Phillipe Clement's had in recent times from the fan base, has been the fact that he's been unwilling to start new signings, that he's been unwilling to play new players. And there's been a whole plethora of reasons why they can't play, right from the fact that they haven't trained enough for the first team, to they're not fully fit yet, or they've been very busy down at IKEA. These have been the comments that have kind of come. Nedim Bajrami. Sorry, let's get his pronunciation right. So Nedim Bajrami. Now, Bajrami, is an out-and-out 10. This is a guy who comes to the club, who can play in that 10 role, who's talked about, these desire to score goals, to assist goals, to create chances. Someone who, in his time in Italy, with Sassuolo, with Empoli, played very well in that 10 role. And I think a lot of fans are hopeful that he may well be picked in that 10 role over Tom Lawrence, who hasn't had the best of starts to the season. Now, when asked about Nedim Bajrami and his availability for Sunday, Phillipe Clement commented, Nedim Bajrami trained with the first team for the first time today. We will make a decision after training tomorrow. Now, obviously, this rings a few alarm bells, in my head. Clement likes his players to have had multiple training sessions. I mean, I've seen some cracking jokes about, until they've had 300 training sessions, they can't be considered for first team football, which is a bit funny. But and a bit exaggerating as well. But obviously this is a concern. That Clement does like these players when they've come in to have had a number of training sessions and become kind of, I don't know, acclimatized to the rest of the squad, acclimatized to what's going on, more kind of glued into the whole situation. So, look, saying what he's saying, I think, is kind of a preparation that maybe Bajrami won't start against Dundee United on Sunday. I have my concerns. I have my worries about how Bajrami will be used. Of course, I do. Given the misuse of, and I know this is going to get me some criticism, and I know this is a player that came in for criticism, but Phillipe Clement playing, Fabio Silva as a left winger when the guy's not a left winger, he's a 10 or a 9.5. He's not really, someone who should play on the left wing, and he was wasted out there. He continued to do that until the end of the season. Yeah, partly down to necessity through injuries, but I think never really seen the best of Fabio Silva because of that. No matter what you think of the boy. My worry is that with the players out injured and Cortez only just returning, that maybe Bajrami will be stuck on the left wing, given the fact he did play there for Albania during the week. I think that this would be a huge mistake, probably putting Tom Lawrence in the 10 role and putting Bajrami out wide. I think, would be a ridiculous move by the manager. So, that's a possibility. I mean, reading this statement and reading the comments and kind of reading between the lines on what Clement has to say and looking at his past history, I really think Bajrami will be on the bench on Sunday, which I think is a mistake. I do think he should be starting. In terms of the players that have been out, Phillipe Clement said Oscar played 60 minutes in our closed door game. He is progressing well along with Hamza. In reference to Hamza Igman, apparently Rangers played a behind closed doors friendly against Motherwell during the international break, and Oscar Cortez and Hamza Igman are featured in that. Ridvan is still out along with Danilo and Matondo. So obviously no Ridvan Yilmaz on Sunday, looking like Hiefte will start on left back. No Danilo, we know about that. Obviously, he's still recovering from another injury, which obviously is a huge concern, the amount of time this boy spends out injured. And Rabbi Matondo, who went off injured against Celtic, obviously is out as well. On Ridvan, he says Ridvan is back doing individual work outside. So he's obviously training on the grass, but he's not training with the first team. He's doing very much solo individual work with fitness coaches. So, you're looking at another 2 to 3 weeks, I think, before Ridvan is even in consideration. Now, the fact that Oscar Cortez played 60 minutes of that game surely must put him in with an opportunity to at least play some part on Sunday. I'm very firmly of the belief that you go in with your strongest team from minute one, and then you can make changes around the hour mark or 50-minute mark or 55th minute mark. But for me, you have to go in with your strongest team. And that for me, obviously, is Bajrami at 10, Cortez on the left wing. It's Czerny on the right wing. Go with some real attacking power. Czerny played well for Czechia during the week. Bajrami played well for Albania during the week as well. And if Oscar Cortez is back, the club are obviously putting a lot of faith in Oscar Cortez to outlay the money that we're going to lay on him. We're bringing him back after a loan spell where he missed a lot of that time because he's injured. So there's clearly a groundswell of opinion that this guy's a good footballer. So for me, I would start Cortez, and even if it means taking him off at half time or taking him off after 55, 60 minutes on Sunday, you've really, I think at this point now, Clement, who said himself during his Q&A that, ridiculous Q&A, that's as far as he's concerned, we can still win the league. You've got to go with your strongest team. You've got to put your strongest team out there. So Cortez, realistically looking at the left wing options, it's probably the best option there. No Matondo, McCausland's not really a left winger. Sterling's waste, Dane's not a great, again, struggles on the left, comes inside, cuts down the width. Yefte can play there, but I don't know, you're going to play Robbie Fraser at left back. I can't see that happening. So, look, if Cortez is fit enough to start, then get him in there. But as we've seen with Clement again, he's very reluctant to do that. I think he is a little bit conservative when it comes to team selection. Well, guys, let me know what you think of these comments and what we said this morning. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, if you can drop me a like on the video, it helps the video to grow. Drop a comment. That also helps as well. Thank you for watching. And please remember always, we are the people.